dreams. I push a mind to a limit where it needs to feed. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns sour with the painful scenes, I need to scream out loud, I can't stop me. I wanna be the greatest like Rocky. You know I leave them all hating like a hobby. I'm out here making moves like a lobby. And if you ain't with me, it's your loss. See, I got my mind on the facts, I'm a python. Grab what I like real fast, choke until I have everything. I attack everything that I lack, everything that I want, and I see matter of fact.
Cause I'm my own worst enemy. Only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully. I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I manifest it. Every morning I wake up obsessed, and everything I do the best. And deep within my mind you know I'll always manifest it.
Hello and welcome to my Mind Over Matter. My name is Rick. Turn on the cameras here. Ooh wee! Said I was gonna come on and something came up. Something came up, and it's not nice. It rhymes with not nice, and it's ice. We're getting a bunch of ice tonight, and it's gonna be very dangerous for any commuters that are gonna be hitting out on the streets tonight here in Connecticut or anywhere in the tri-states. We're gonna get a lot of ice tonight. It's not nice, but it's ice, and it's just about enough ice to be able to practice for the Winter Olympics. If you want to be a figure skater, great night tonight for your figure skating practicing. If you want to join the bobsled team, tonight's the night. Practice all you want because it's going to be very slippery out there. I highly suggest don't going anywhere tonight. Stay your ass at home. Yeah, it's going to be very treacherous. That's for damn sure. Let me get this set up here. Tonight's going to be a short show. It's not going to be long. It's going to be very short. So we're just going to get to like the main things and then see my way out. So let me set this up here real quick. Let me resize it here. Let's go ahead and bring it back to me. Let me resize some of these videos that I have open for us to watch. I guarantee tonight is not going to be a long night. It's going to be a good night. And we got stuff to watch for sure. So let me resize these videos and then we'll start watching. How was your weekend, everyone? Mine was pretty good. I actually did a video, a short. I hope you guys are watching my shorts. If you're watching my shorts, you're nasty. No, not like that. But I did a couple of shorts and they're pretty cool. The last one I put up, I actually pulled a Mega Gengar EX, which was really cool to finally see one in my hands for the first time. I was so excited. I was really happy. And Pokemon, they make me happy when I hit. And truly appreciate just the hobby, getting back into a hobby. And now I'm going to get focused into that hobby and really collect and really put a binder together. I'm looking forward to it. Let's go ahead and bring up the chat here. Oh my goodness. Chloe, what's up? Yes, it's ice, baby, tonight. Starting with a joke. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yay, Chloe. Okay, why is my thing's not working here? All right, there it goes. What's up, Albie? How you doing, Albie? Hope you're doing good. Hope everyone had a great weekend. It was pretty okay. We got snow and now we're getting ice. And yeah, love the dusk. Thank you. It's still very festive. Actually, I could. Yeah, it's still a little more festive. Actually, make it a little brighter. There we go. Much brighter now. The AM. Oh, okay, for the videos, yeah, the ASMR. Yes, that's the backside. You see, because okay, you guys see the front side. That's for y'all. That's for your entertainment. That up here, this is my altar, and it's like beautifulness, good energy, a lot of fire energy, a lot of candle energy here, and I love the warmth. It actually warms my room every time I turn these candles on. It's actually does two things. It really relaxes the eyes, relaxes me, and not only that, but it brings really good warmth into this area. So I love my setup. But when I do the cards, yes, when I'm doing the Pokemon cards and I'm ripping my and opening a pack because I'm gonna do a pack a day. Um, I was like, man, I wanted to make my little area a little cute, when I do my openings. So I always have candles here in front of me. I always have candles. But I was like, oh, let me bring Ganesh. Let me bring in, Shiva. Let me bring in my skull, my water globe skull, and just do a nice little opening here. And it's like my little altar beside my altar. It's my own little opening for Pokemon packs. And I do it right here, right in front of me. It's literally like right here is where I do it, if everyone is wondering. But I'm getting a lot of people that are watching the shorts, which is great. I have videos now that are hitting like 2,000, over 2,000 views, 1,000 views. I wish a lot of those people that watch my shorts actually subscribe to the channel and watch the show, because it's very entertaining and it's very cool and it's very informative. Oh, you saw? Nice. Thank you. Oh my God. I got Pokemon crystals and they're yours now. Oh, thank you. Pokemon crystals. You know what? I got to put in my order, Chloe. Um, when I get off here tonight, I have to go back and look. I have your thing open. It's just I really wanted to order it for my birthday, to be honest with you, because my birthday's on the 21st, so of January. So it's like Christmas. I didn't want to like really get it for myself for Christmas and stuff, but I really would like to get it for my birthday. So it's like a little gift for myself. And I love crystals, so why not for my birthday? And then what I could do is I could implement what I get from like Chloe and add it on screen back here and do like a little video montage here so we can open up the packs and have really good luck. I've been having really good luck lately with the cards, and I want to continue that streak. I really like this hobby. It gets me back to what I used to love before, and that's collecting cards. I really love like the football cards, baseball cards. I was really good, and I still have my collection of cards, which is amazing. They're over 30 years old easily. Um, but yeah, I'm happy to get back in that swing of things. And Pokemon now is going to be reaching 30 years old, like the company itself and the brand is. Yeah, I hope they do good, and I wish them well. And I'm going to be collecting and continue opening, and I'm going to try to open one pack a day for a whole year. What? It's like, is that even possible? Yeah, it's possible. Just put your mind to it. Get the packs. The most concern is having the packs and being able to open one every day. Um, that's a big commitment, a really big commitment. I will put them in the box here. I got 3 Pokemon crystals. Nice. Yeah, it's like I got some collect cards, football, baseball. Yeah, basketball. Yeah, yeah, that's what I used to love doing. I used to love collecting cards. Yeah, I'm gonna do a pack of Pokemon a day, and then it's gonna switch from Phantasmal Flames. I'm gonna go to Destined Rivals, and then I'm gonna see if I can get me a booster box and a couple of booster boxes, and it's all for the show, and it's gonna help the channel grow more and get some eyes on me. Like I said, collecting cards and stuff and opening and just the excitement. And it's ASMR, so I'm not talking because I talk a lot on my show. I don't want to be now like talking over the cards. I want the cards like I want people to listen to when they open the pack, opening the cardboard and then opening the wrapper and then pulling the cards and then going through each card one at a time. I think that's a great uh, ASMR for a lot of people. It's just like a nostalgia thing. I actually did a playlist. If you want to watch the playlist, I have a playlist now where I have about 13 videos, but every single video that I put up, I'm going to be putting it on the playlist so people could go back and watch all the openings, and you can fall asleep listening me opening packages and just put it on a cycle that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because I got to build up the views. But I think it'll be something fun, and we'll bring more eyes over here, and hopefully we'll get some good people that actually like to talk about current events and what's been going on and so forth. But with that said, let's go right to the news, because what's going to be happening here in the Northwest is going to be pretty hard for the people who are traveling tonight. It's not going to be good, but let's go ahead and go right to the news.
Now for a check on our weather, meteorologist Craig Allen is here with a look at your first alert forecast.
To be honest, though, after watching that story, is there really any need for you or I to be here?
Look, put a robot here, put a robot there. No one tells the weather quite like you, though, Craig.
Oh, well, thank you.
You got to be here.
And we've got a lot.
Yes,
Once again, we do. We have another first alert weather advisory in effect for the area. And this is not for snow. This is for freezing rain this time, especially our northern and western suburbs.
Ice,
take a look
baby.
at the city outside while I walk on over, and you can see there's not really anything falling right now on this camera. The sky is solidly overcast. Radar shows that precip is approaching the area. Some parts of New Jersey and the Hudson Valley are seeing some freezing rain. And what that's all about
That's
is
coming
that
over
it's
here.
warmer aloft than it is down
coming
here
to
at the
Connecticut.
surface. 33 degrees, freezing rain around with a south-southwesterly wind. That's very important. That's going to send the temperatures up as we go through the evening hours rather than down. So the freezing rain problems and all the trouble that it's going to cause will be alleviated as we go through the night. But as you could see,
That's
here,
good for New York, but Connecticut,
freezing.
I hope
Just about all areas.
warms
And
up
you know
fast.
who's got it the worst right now? Where you have the most snowfall on up into the Hudson Valley, especially north of Interstate 84, covering across the Hudson Valley and into sections of Connecticut, still in the upper 20s there right now.
Yeah, it's cold.
I think temperatures will continue to go up. As I mentioned, the south-southwesterly wind. So we're going to keep making our way up slowly above the freezing mark. This is for the city, by the way. We'll make our way up through the freezing mark. Anytime after 10 o'clock, it's just plain rain for the city. And I think any winter weather advisories will be discontinued for the city and for the coast by time. What to expect? Well, the freezing rain this evening, especially inland, before it changes or transitions.
That's so
over
cool
to
that you collect cards
rain as
slowly.
the temperature goes up.
That's so cool.
It'll be mild with rain on Monday. There could be
You gotta do something that you could show me your collection.
Maybe about a half hour to
You
an
show
hour.
me yours
right
and I'll
through
show you
midday.
mine.
And then these low 50s, they're going to plunge again with high winds returning.
Look
to
at this.
the
Look at
area.
the
So now,
ice.
let's see it on radar. It's just approaching the city now. There's a little, perhaps, sprinkly weather going on down in central and southern New Jersey.
Ice,
Forget it.
ice,
You don't have to
baby.
worry about icing. The temperatures will stay at or above freezing. But here,
Ooh, Terry's
in
gonna get a
northern New
lot of
Jersey,
ice
anywhere you
tonight.
see the deeper pink
I hope he's
colors,
ready, man.
this is where you've got freezing rain reaching the ground.
You need to be
Liberty,
careful
there could
out
be a
there.
wet snowflake or ice pellets mixed in here or there. But you start making your way on up through 86.
Yeah, we're getting
and
ice.
beyond 84 to 86, you go up 91 in Connecticut.
Oh,
or
it's
up
gonna
the
get
thruway
worse.
Here. That's when
Up
you
north.
really start to worry and start running into
Yeah.
problems overnight.
If you're in
It's
North
this warm front
Massachusetts
that's pushing
into
this
Vermont
cold air
and New
away, but
Hampshire
that's
and
what's
Maine,
setting up the precip.
y'all
So
getting
the warm front will
ice,
come
ice,
through. The
baby.
temperatures will start going up overnight. But until that point, it's a first alert weather day right through the evening hours, with the freezing rain obviously lasting longer north and west of the city and northeast of the city too.
Yeah.
Accumulation. The
Stay
city
your
can
ass
have a light
inside,
glaze,
for
maybe
sure.
the north shore of the island, a little bit of light glaze. But when you
I'm
start
telling you, you
getting
don't
up
want to
to
be practicing for
0.25,
the
a
figure
quarter inch of
skating
ice hanging
competition
off of the
for the
power
Olympics.
lines or the tree limbs, that's not a good thing. That's going to make it rather treacherous out there for travel and could put enough weight on those power lines for a few power
Yep.
outages, especially
A
up
lot of
here.
power is going to be going
So
out
the way
tonight
it's set up with this winter weather
between the
advisory
power
is,
and
yes, I showed you before.
yeah. I
that
mean, it's
from
And the trees coming down.
78, 80, and across the city and Long Island, we are now in that winter weather advisory, but it's brief.
I've
As
seen a
the
couple
night
of trees
goes on,
already
the warmer air
come
comes in.
down
This
from the
will get
snow
canceled out,
that we
but
got.
it stays for the Hudson Valley as well as Connecticut. And again, Futurecast
And big
indicates
trees are
just
coming
how that
down.
is. This is by 8 o'clock.
Wow, look all that
freezing rain.
ice tonight
By
here in
9
Connecticut.
o'clock, there's still some freezing
Ooh,
rain.
it's
Maybe
just
some
9
ice
o'clock right
pellets
now.
mixed in, but for the coast, it's already
That's all we're
rain.
getting right
Over
now is
with,
ice.
for any kind of icing. Still rain at 11:30. Still freezing. Still icy up to the north. And then this is for tomorrow. Now it's warm enough for all rain, but when this front comes through, it is going to give us quite a deluge, I would think, maybe for about a half an hour
It's
to
going
an
to be
hour.
heavy
That
rain
goes through, the temperatures start to plummet,
and then
from
snow.
that point on, we've got that real cold, windy weather back into the region. Ice amounts anywhere
That's how
from a
people
tenth
get
to
sick.
2/10, as I mentioned before. That's troublesome, and it makes for very slippery pavement. I think we're in this box right here, this category. Slippery pavement, weight on the tree limbs, and isolated power outages in those areas. So for tonight, 36 in the city, but actually going up. So the freezing rain north and west, but we'll change over to plain rain in the city. Briefly get to 50 tomorrow
Wow.
with rain.
Tomorrow's going to be nice,
midday.
50, but it's
turns
going to
colder
drop.
and blustery in the afternoon, so windy that we already have a wind advisory in effect for most of New
Wow.
Jersey. And there's no way that they're not going to do it for us as well.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an extremely windy day, 40, 50 mile per hour winds out there through the afternoon. And now the 7-day forecast.
That means it's going to
I
be
hope
a
you've been taking
cold-ass
notes,
New
because
Year's.
That's a lot of information, Alan. I've given you a lot of info there. Here's your 7-day forecast. 50 tomorrow. Remember, icy tonight, especially north and west all night, but not for the coast. It'll change to plain rain. Tuesday, it's only near freezing. Wednesday, Thursday, we could barely get to freezing. Friday, the new year begins. It's barely at freezing. Again, this part we said last night. Those temperatures remain in the 30s right through the rest of the week. So whatever nonsense goes on tonight, the rest of the week is just simply really cold once again.
All right. And AI doesn't stand a chance.
AI
Yeah, I wouldn't be on the road.
As
I
well.
got to be out on the road tomorrow morning. That's the scary part. Tomorrow morning, I got appointments that I got to go, and I have an MRI tomorrow too in the afternoon, and I got a chiropractor appointment also. So very, very, very busy. But yeah, I think I'm gonna rip like the Pokemon, but then I'm also gonna rip like maybe something else too. I'm just debating what should I do, because I want to continue with the Pokemon, because I think that's like grabbing a lot of attention, and at least they're looking at the desk and they're like, that looks very cute, it looks pretty, and I'm gonna continue decorating. Trust me, this is my area over here, my ripping area. I'm gonna make it really cool. Thank you. It's true, but I want to make this really cool for not only me, but for everyone who watches. And I do that ASMR because I want them to like use their senses, listen to their packs ripping, and just using your eyes and looking at the cards. And then I get excited when I get a hit. My hands start shaking. So you're like, that's excitement when my hands are shaking. And I tell people, give the little thumbs up, and I even point to where it's at. I'm being a little creative, but I don't want to talk over the cards or be naming them, because it's like, yeah, it's cool, but then I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want it to be really for just the ASMR. That's what I want. All right, so let's continue on with the show. We got a few more to watch, so let's go right to Tyson De La Cruz. It's our next video. I'll tell you, the show is going to be short.
Nearly 20,000 immigrant truck drivers are suing the California DMV over canceled commercial driver's licenses, claiming they have been deprived of their rights and livelihood.
America, ICE just pulled over 100 illegal truck drivers off California highways, people who shouldn't even be in the country, let alone be behind the wheel of a massive commercial vehicle. But here's the part that's probably going to make you a little upset. California knowingly gave these people commercial driver's license, even though they couldn't read signs and fatal Nazis. These agents just saved countless lives by stopping drivers who had no business operating 18-wheelers on American roads.
I think good government would be governors that say, I'm going to keep my roads safe. I'm going to keep my people safe. But you see time and time again as opposed to their citizen.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This is what sanctuary policies look like. Dead Americans on highways because Democrats care more about protecting illegal immigrants than protecting our family safety. Let's break down what just went down. ICE, Homeland Security, and Border Patrol, they're calling Operation Highway Sentinel, targeting illegal alien commercial truck drivers. And they didn't just hit California. They conducted similar operations in Indiana, New York, and Oklahoma, resulting in hundreds of arrests.
So many states like California, it's illegal for
I
police
wonder
to even
why
ask
these
the
companies
driver
hired
what
these
immigration status,
illegals.
including
Ain't the
those
company
in
supposed to get in
commercial
trouble?
trucking, which is why the administration is now cracking down.
The goal here
There are
was simple:
fines
address
behind
deadly
that.
crashes linked to illegal commercial truckers. Because this isn't theoretical, you
That's-
guys.
that's
This isn't
tax
about
invasion
paperwork
also.
violations. Real Americans are dead because California handed out commercial driver's license like candy to people who couldn't even read the signs telling them where to go.
I mean, they know how to use the
ICE
gears.
ramped up this crackdown following a series
I mean,
of
if they know how to
deadly
use the
crashes that
trucks,
took lives across several
that's
states.
fine.
And the drivers
But they gotta know how
arrested
to
came
read
from
the
nearly
road.
a dozen countries. We're talking about Mexico, Colombia, Russia, Ukraine, Nicaragua, Republic of Georgia, Venezuela,
Yeah, that
El
looks like the
Salvador,
United
and
Nations.
Honduras. Think about that for a second.
Holy
We've got
shit.
people from 11 different countries, many who don't speak English, driving commercial vehicles on American highways because California decided immigration enforcement was too racist. Now, let me tell you about the Americans who died because
Oh,
of
that
California's
was a bad
reckless
accident.
policies. These
Oh.
aren't just statistics. These are real people
Oh,
with
my
families
God.
who will never, ever see
Dude,
them
boom,
again.
boom,
We
boom.
remember Harjinger Singh
Oh,
by obviously
that's horrible too.
California. Sim Salabim. Allegedly, and I'm not going to say allegedly here, but for the YouTube purposes, I have to, killed 3 people while trying to make an illegal U-turn with an 18-wheeler in Florida. 3 people dead because California gave a commercial license to somebody who entered our country illegally in 2018. Let me ask you guys something. How do you make an illegal U-turn with a semi-truck? You're doing something catastrophically dangerous. You know how? Because you can't read road signs, because you don't understand basic traffic laws, because you never should have been given that license in the first place.
Thank you.
Wow.
Come again. These are 80,000-pound
Thank you.
vehicles
Come again.
that can be incredibly dangerous when things go wrong.
And things go wrong
Yo,
a
what's
lot
up?
when you hand out driver's license to
How you
people who
doing?
can't even speak English,
You ready
can't
for the
even read
ice?
a road sign, or don't even understand
ice,
American
baby.
traffic laws. Now, here's where
It's
the
gonna be
story
ice,
goes from
ice,
tragic to
baby.
criminal. California didn't accidentally give these licenses out. They did it
Taylor.
deliberately,
Oh,
knowing
Lord.
full well
The tag
these
team
people
are
were
here.
illegally and couldn't meet federal requirements.
Federal authorities say
I
the
love
sweep was
wrestling,
launched
so-
following multiple fatal
Right
crashes
now.
across several states involving illegal
Taylor
alien
and Terry
truckers
will be,
licensed in
like,
California.
intergender
Federal law
tag
has
team
clear
champions.
requirements for commercial driver's license, including, get this, English proficiency. But California decided federal law doesn't apply to them because they're a sanctuary state. They issued thousands of CDLs to illegal immigrants, many of whom literally
Thank you for-
could not read English. Border Patrol agent
I got a
El
rip
Centro
today, Terry.
arrested 49 illegal
I got a,
immigrant commercial drivers.
Omega
California
Gengar
issued
EX
31 of those licenses. Let me
'Cause I'm
rewind
doing
that back.
one rip a
California
day.
issued 31 of those
I'll
licenses.
talk more about
but
it after
it
this,
wasn't
though.
just California. We're talking
After Tyson.
about Florida, Illinois, New York. We're handing out CDLs to people who were here illegally.
New York, where Secretary Duffy says
Yeah, that'd be what's up, 'cause
53%
y'all
of the
be
state's
like-
CDLs went to illegal
I can
immigrants.
think of a
More
design
than
that would be
half.
so
That,
cool.
my friends,
for
is
both of
not a
y'all.
mistake. That is not an oversight. That's a
Y'all be
deliberate
the
policy to put
intergender
unqualified drivers on our
local tag
roads. The
team
Trump
champions of the
administration
world.
saw what was happening here and actually took some action. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced new rules focusing on English language proficiency requirements. And when states refused to comply, he started withholding all the money.
California was the first state to have federal funding withheld for noncompliance, over $40 million. But multiple other states have failed to cooperate as well, including Illinois, Washington, New York, Pennsylvania, and
Wow.
Minnesota.
These Democrat-run states would rather lose federal highway funding than step.
Taxpayer is not going to
Yeah,
fund
crazy.
their roads and bridges and their systems when they're putting illegals on the roads and endangering the lives of the American people.
And you know what California did? They sued the federal government for trying to enforce safety standards. Think about that.
I'm doing good,
California
Caleb.
is going
Thanks
to
for
court to
asking.
defend their
I'm
right to
just
give commercial
feeling
driver's
this fucking
licenses
pain
to
in my
people
back.
who can't even read
And
English.
I think
This,
it's
my
ice.
friends, is where we're at in 2025.
Like the
Colorado,
weather.
a state Duffy is now
I got
threatening
like a
to
heavy
withhold
pain in
$24
my
million
back.
from after a federal audit found roughly 22% of CDLs given
But
to
I'm in good
immigrants
spirit.
were done so illegally.
Colorado governor claims it was just crossed wires, whatever that means, and they're conducting a final review. Crossed wires.
Yeah,
I
they're
have no
well
idea
flagged.
what
You
that
guys are
means.
getting iced.
22% of your commercial licenses were
You're
issued
getting a
illegally,
lot of ice
and you're
tonight.
calling it crossed wires. That's not crossed wires. That's deliberate policy to ignore federal law.
This administration is sending out ICE, Border Patrol, Homeland
Talking about
Security
ICE.
to checkpoints and shipping ports looking for illegal issued CDLs, commercial licenses.
California has already revoked about 17,000 CDLs, with more under review after Duffy threatened to withhold millions in highway funding. 17,000 illegal licenses, and that's just what they admitted to so far. Now, let me show you how the Democrats are defending this insanity. Our good friend, our amazing hair gel slick back friend, California Governor Gavin Newsom's office and state DMVs have countered Duffy's accusations with some truly ridiculous arguments,
including that California CDL holders have a fatal crash rate lower than the national average, and that the federal government, not the state, determines CDL eligibility.
Let me translate that for you. Sure, we gave licenses to people here illegally who can't read English, but our crash rate
A lot
isn't
of
that
illegals.
bad. That's the
Yeah,
typical
Colorado.
Democrat defense. Blame the federal government for having safety standards while you deliberately violate them. America, 8+ people are dead because Democrats decide immigration enforcement was more important than highway
I
safety.
think that was the worst
8+
accident
families
of 20
destroyed because
25.
California, New York, and other blue states handed out
That was
commercial
horrible.
licenses to people who had no business operating commercial vehicles. And here's what really exposes
How many
the
people
lie.
only
When
did
Trump's
one?
DOJ started investigating, these states suddenly found thousands of illegal issued license. They knew this all along. They just didn't care until federal funding was on the line. This is what sanctuary policies
But they need to
actually
go
look like
after
in
those
practice.
business
Not
owners,
compassion,
those
not helping
trucking
vulnerable
company
people,
owners,
dead Americans on highways,
and
because
fine them.
Democrats prioritize illegal immigrants over citizen safety every single time. The
Migrants.
Trump administration is cleaning up the mess one state at a time.
Yes, stay away
Watch how
from the
many
light.
more illegal CDLs get revoked as federal audits continue. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you, Tyson, for a great upload. Yeah, the drivers need to get the hell out of our roads. You already are putting our safety on the line, and you guys didn't even get the license legit. Like, you guys don't even know English. Like, how the hell did he pass a test, like, without knowing a peep of English? I don't get it. I found a couple's title belt set on. Oh yeah, you saw it? You already saw it? That's cool. I'm sure they have a lot of them out there. All right, so let's continue here. Oh, I was gonna say the Pokemon. I'm gonna do a pack a day opening. I'm always gonna do a short a day, so it does pick up the numbers. Oh my god, when I saw the view counts, I was astonished. It was so rapid too. Like, my channel hasn't seen that many numbers like that ever, I don't think, in a row. Like if I do it daily and I rip a pack daily, the numbers will continue to grow on the channel, and maybe we'll have an opportunity to reach 1,000 next year. That'll be a great accomplishment for 2026. Try to reach 1,000 subscribers. I think that's manageable. I think we could do it. I think we can. I know we can. We just got to do it. And I'll have like the Pokemon section, which would be the shorts. And if they traveled upon this side over here, then they'll know what I do. I cover the news. I do some psychic work at times. I haven't been doing it lately because I've been more paying attention to what's going on, because my it's like something's telling me to focus on the world, because there's a lot of weird, crazy shit that's going to be happening for 2026. It's going to be just, you're safe at home, okay? You're safe at home, and you're gonna live life to the fullest, okay? And you're gonna enjoy your life, okay? The world, that's a whole different ball game, and it's just gonna get crazy next year. All right, but let's go ahead and continue on with what I have here open for us to watch. So let me set this up real quick, and let's continue watching some news.
I do want to get you back into your headlines right now, as a man is charged with kidnapping a 15-year-old girl in Texas, abducting her off the street at knife point on Christmas. And that girl's father reportedly tracked her phone to find her and her alleged kidnapper. That's the suspect right there on your screen.
Oh my God.
The County Sheriff's Office says deputies were told the teenage victim had taken her dog for a walk and never returned to her home in Porter. That's outside of Houston.
Oh my God.
The girl's father reportedly used parental controls to locate his daughter's phone, which took him to a secluded, partially wooded area about 2 miles away. Inside a pickup truck, investigators say the father found his daughter and the dog, along with a half-naked man. After helping his daughter escape, the father called for help. According to the sheriff's office, the 23-year-old suspect, Giovanni Rosales Espinoza, seen there, quote, had threatened the victim with a knife and abducted her from the street, end quote. He has now been charged with aggravated kidnapping and indecency with a child, and he does remain jailed without bond. I want to talk about the case.
Oh my God.
So let's bring in
Chloe, this is your part of the woods.
NYPD officer,
Chloe, what's going on?
Fellow at the R Street Institute, and adjunct lecturer at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
Oh my God, Texas, what is happening?
Thanks for having me, Josh, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Well, first off, I did want to ask you from a law enforcement perspective here, what stands out to you about the details of the case in general?
So what really stands out is how quickly this situation evolved. It began when the father noticed that the daughter didn't come home, and he quickly took action. He used the location on her phone, as we saw. And he's
anticipating her.
First responders, but using the phone's data to help determine where she might be really narrowed down the when did become involved. Deputies relied on witness statements from some of the stuff I read. People did see the truck, and that was really key in helping them identify the vehicle and later the suspect.
Because this did involve a 15-year-old girl, according to the sheriff, how does that kind of differ when you're talking about the approach by police to the investigation and the search efforts versus if we were talking about the potential of a kidnapped adult?
There's vast differences between the way that we, law enforcement, will investigate missing children versus missing adults. Is saying we don't wait. A lot of agencies will have what's called a mobilization, where they're going to call in like a team of 10 officers or more if they have the resources to do so. Children can't consent to being taken, and they also are more vulnerable. And so in cases like this, officers may initially be responding to a missing child report, and once information develops, it becomes clearer. You'll also hear about alert systems. Now, this case unfolded way quicker than usual, but in missing children cases, you'll see Amber Alerts. In missing senior citizen cases, which are also, they're treated similarly to juvenile cases because senior citizens are also a vulnerable population. You'll hear of Silver Alerts. So these tools are what helps let the public know what we're dealing with and
That's crazy.
missing.
And based on
At least
your
the
law
dad
enforcement
found her.
expertise, be able to take away.
I mean, I know a lot of kids don't want their parents knowing where they are at all times. And I mean, when I was a kid, my parents definitely weren't
You know how
able to track
traumatizing that is for
me
the
with a cell
child?
phone because I didn't have one yet.
Oh
But
my
the case really
God.
highlights the importance of awareness and preparation. So this father immediately recognized that something wasn't right, and he used the tools at his disposal to help find his daughter. So acting early matters. Technology is really important, and we have it. So we need to use it, but we need to use it thoughtfully. So location sharing features, they don't replace communicating or talking to your child, but they are supportive when something goes wrong. So just as early as regular conversations with your kids about awareness and boundaries and trusting their instincts, these discussions really help children recognize danger and help parents respond faster if something does go wrong.
On that same note, though, when a parent locates their child before police are there, what precautions would you say, based on your expertise, that they need to take to avoid maybe escalating the situation in some way?
Parents, they want to rush in. Their instinct is to save their child, and that's completely understandable. But situations like this can unfold very quickly. They can become dangerous. They can escalate. We
Yeah,
found out
hello,
later
he had
that
a
the
knife.
suspect did use a knife, so this was a forcible abduction. I'm sure the father didn't know that going in. The
No, he did
safest
not.
approach would be to keep law enforcement informed. I don't know if, and this is again based on just what I've read, if the father called 911 immediately when he knew his daughter was missing, or if it was after he located. I've read a few mixed things, but it is important to always keep law enforcement in the loop because you don't know what you're dealing with. So armed suspects are desperate. And in this case, we are happy that it worked out well. The daughter is safe, the father is safe, the suspect is apprehended. But at the same time, keeping law enforcement involved is just very paramount to safety for everyone.
And we don't know at this point from investigators. It sounds as though, like we said, the 15-year-old
Oh,
was
okay.
abducted at knife point.
Yeah,
from
Liz,
the
this is what
street
happened
there while
around
walking
in
her dog.
Texas.
That's
You
according
watching,
to the
Chloe?
sheriff's office. It's not clear if she had any previous interaction with this suspect, but I
That's
wanted to
crazy.
ask you more of kind of a general situation here, just kind of based on what you've seen in your law enforcement time here. When you're talking about the abduction, the kidnapping at knife point of a young girl, 15 years old, maybe even younger here, is it normally someone who knows this 15-year-old child? Is it somebody who doesn't know them, a stranger? Is it a mix of both?
So looking at the data, most missing child cases involve children running away from home or family or custodial related issues. They're not normally violent abductions, but cases like this worry law enforcement because non-family adults who kidnap children, those tend to have the highest risk of serious harm. Stranger abductions are, again, I want to reiterate, they're not common, they're quite rare, but when they do happen, especially when force or weapon is involved, they can escalate very quickly. And that's when police treat the situation as an emergency. So in this case, investigators determined the suspect was not known to the family, at least that's what I've seen so far, which places this case is in a high risk category and explains the urgency and why the father acted so quickly.
And it's important to note here that we don't have a final determination of if there was any kind of previous interaction, anything of that nature. There's different reports that are coming in. So I just wanted to make sure to clarify that for folks out there. That was more a general question about cases like this. And I did want to ask you here, is there anything that you want to add before I let you go? Anything that you think it's important for parents out there to know?
I think the case is a reminder that we don't want to raise children in fear, but stranger danger, it's real. And most missing child cases, although they don't involve violent strangers, when they do, the case can escalate very quickly and can be dangerous. So what's important here is that it began as a missing child concern and later became clear how serious it was. A parent trusted their instincts, and that's really important. Technology did help, witnesses did help, law enforcement came in, the suspect was apprehended, but this shows how public safety works in layers. So having awareness at home, talking to your children, telling them not to talk to strangers, working with them to make sure that they're agreeable to keeping their location tracker on so that there's
No,
an
I
open
didn't
dialogue.
ask that,
So when
but
something like this happens, they're
are
immediately,
you?
they
I don't
know
have
something
that.
is wrong.
All
Pinterest?
right.
No,
Jillian
I don't
Snyder
have
there,
that.
retired NYPD officer, wears a lot of hats. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. We definitely appreciate it as always.
Thanks, Josh.
And of course, as I mentioned, this is the
What a
booking photo
creep.
for the suspect there, provided by the
Creepo.
Montgomery County Sheriff's Office
Disgusting.
in Texas. That is Giovanni Rosales Espinoza. As of right
Sounds
now,
like he
is
doesn't belong
jailed
here.
on several charges, including kidnapping, and is being held without bond. We'll keep
Ugh.
you updated on the case here as it does continue to
Texas
develop.
has a lot of sickos. A lot of sickos in Texas. All right, let's continue.
Well, a new storm system is threatening to complicate post-holiday travel across this country. Tonight, people at the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport are seeing it. This weekend, messy weather delayed or canceled thousands of flights, many of them in the Northeast. CBS's Chanel Call is at New Jersey's Newark Liberty Airport with more on that part of the story. Chanel.
And Jerika, the TSA says we could set a new record for the number of people passing through airport security today. But another
I do not travel in the holidays.
is stirring up even more
Hell no.
disruptions.
Look at this
Plows out
shit.
in force, planes
Mm-mm.
de-iced, and travelers sucked in.
Nope.
Roughly 100 flights in and out of Minneapolis canceled, over 300 more
Damn.
delayed. Travel on the roads equally treacherous in the upper Midwest. The latest travel disruptions follow a massive storm that slammed
Look
the
at that
Northeast this
shit.
weekend, delaying more than
Mm.
20,000 flights and canceling nearly 3,000 more. The McGee-Osgun family finally departed Newark Liberty Airport today after they were left stranded yesterday.
We've used all of our time off and all of our savings so that the family can meet the baby. Honestly, I feel abandoned.
Travelers also
Yeah, but
advised
you
to
should
take
have
extra
thought about
precautions,
this
like
long and
masking up
hard.
this
I knew
year,
this.
as cases of influenza
You fly in the
surge
winter,
across the
that's like
country.
playing
14
like Russian
states
roulette.
reporting high or very high flu activity.
Look, a lot of
New
people
York
getting
State
sick.
saw more than 71,000 cases ahead of the holiday, the highest ever recorded in a single week.
Damn. Mm-mm.
And multiple airlines, including American, Delta, and United,
I don't
are now
travel in the
waiving the
holidays.
fee to change or rebook flights that may be impacted by this inclement weather. So a good idea to check the
Very-
forecast before you head to the airport. Jerika?
Absolutely, Chanel Call. Thank you. Tonight, an explosive storm is about to send chills across some 20 states. Let's check in with CBS News meteorologist Andrew Kozak.
Jerika, that Arctic air moving in from the north and that record heat across the south that we've been tracking, well, the clash of those two air masses bringing us a very dynamic system tonight. We have winter
Maybe
alerts stretching
tornadoes
across
tonight.
20 different states, including a blizzard warning for the upper peninsula of Michigan, places like
Damn.
Minnesota and Iowa. Winds gusting 30 to 60 miles per hour
Oh,
for
winds are
dozens
coming
of
this
states
way.
as this system moves through the country overnight tonight. The snow causing whiteout conditions, snow squalls for places like Detroit. And while the I-95 corridor, the major cities may miss the worst of this, we are likely to see some icing and snow squalls right along the lakes as we move into your Monday. Bomb cyclone. You might have heard the term. It's kind of trending on social media.
Yeah, when
It's a
the
storm that rapidly
pressure drops,
intensifies.
24
Pressure drops, damaging
millibars.
winds and heavy precipitation. This may
24 hours.
become that. We're watching it very closely. But either way,
It's a
we're looking
24-hour
forward to 2 feet of
it's like a
snow for the
24
lowest we're
millibar
gonna see
drop in
across the
24
Upper
hours.
Peninsula where those blizzard warnings are, and tonight even
That's what they
severe weather
call
with numerous tornado
bombogenesis.
warnings and a tornado watch across the Midwest. Jerika, back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.
So that's what a bombogenesis is. I could explain it more better than the weatherman can. A bombogenesis is a weather system that drops 24 millibar pressure within 24 hours. And that rapid drop in pressure, they call it a bomb cyclone. And they call it bombogenesis. And it happens with the winter storms. They're known for like winter storms bombing out. Sometimes you get nor'easters that actually bomb out, like have bombogenesis and create a monster storm, which we might get a monster storm this year, upcoming year. but it's gonna be treacherous tonight. That's for sure. So let's keep it going. We got another Tyson De La Cruz. This is the last of Tyson De La Cruz for tonight. So let's watch.
President Trump's immigration crackdown now targeting Ohio. ICE arresting illegal immigrants in the capital, Columbus, and across the state in what's being dubbed
ICE just launched Operation Buckeye in Ohio, arresting gang members, murderers, and violent criminals that Biden let walk free for years. But here's what's really wild. This is the same Ohio where Haitian migrants became a national story when Trump said, "They're eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats," and the media lost their mind. Now ICE is arresting the worst of the worst, while Columbus city leaders are literally protesting federal immigration enforcement and promising their police won't help. Meanwhile, in Maryland, an illegal immigrant tried to run over an ICE agent with a van on Christmas
The police
Eve.
don't
And
help.
both the
That's
driver and his
fucked
passenger
up.
are here on overstayed visas that nobody enforced.
They should arrest every single police officer who doesn't help.
agents nabbing criminals, aliens from places like India and Somalia, some convicted of violent crimes, sex offenses, felony robbery, and drug possession.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This is what happens when Democrats create sanctuary policies. They protect criminals, handcuff law enforcement, then act shocked when violence breaks out. Let me show you what's really happening in Ohio and why local Democrats are more upset about ICE doing their job than about criminals terrorizing their communities. Let me take you guys back about a year ago in Springfield. Ohio became ground zero for the immigration debate. Trump mentioned Haitian migrants are eating the dogs. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. The media lost their mind, went insane, calling it a conspiracy theory, but residents were telling a completely different story.
This immigration situation here is affecting nearly every aspect of life from what I can tell and from what the residents are telling me here in Springfield, Ohio. I'm here at a jobs and kind of family center here in Springfield. This was packed with a line all day. It was primarily Haitian immigrants, like literally all day long. I couldn't get anyone to speak to me because they don't speak English.
Accidents on the roads were skyrocketing. Services were under strain. The infrastructure couldn't handle it. But the media didn't want to talk about any of that. They just wanted to mock Trump.
The crime rate from 2019 to 2022 is up 142%
migrants. But when they tried to tell their local government, state government, or federal government, nobody wanted to listen.
The local town is not listening to us. The state is not listening to us. The feds certainly are not listening to us.
That's what residents kept saying. Nobody was listening. Local government ignored them. State government ignored them. Federal government under Biden definitely ignored them. So the problems just got worse and worse until Trump finally brought national attention to it. Fast forward to now, ICE launched Operation Buckeye on December 16th. And within days, they arrested some absolutely horrific criminals that the Biden administration just let roam free in Ohio communities.
Our officers have gone out and truly arrested the worst of the worst. We have arrested gang members, murderers, and rapists. We've arrested people with sex crime charges. We've arrested people with DWI charges. And we've been able to go after these people that have been in this country illegally. They have taken advantage of the system here in Ohio. And we're putting a stop to that, allowing us to go after the worst embedded themselves near Columbus, Ohio.
These were violent criminals who had embedded themselves in communities around Columbus. ICE arrested people from India, Somalia, of course, and other countries, all here, you guessed it, illegally, all with some serious criminal records, all protected by Biden's non-enforcement priorities that classified violent criminals as people ICE shouldn't be bothered with.
Sanctuary city policies, leaders who don't want to work with ICE is not going to deter ICE from doing our job.
The ICE deputy director made it clear sanctuary city policies and leaders who don't want to work with ICE aren't going to stop them from doing their freaking job. They're going into cities whether local officials cooperate or not, because protecting American communities is more important than protecting the Democrats Democrats' feelings. Now watch how the Columbus mayor responded to ICE arresting violent criminals in his city. Instead of thanking them, he threw a freaking tantrum.
Our police will not be used to carry out these operations. Columbus is already safe without federal intervention. Please take care of one another and know that your community leaders see and support you.
Are you kidding me? Columbus is already safe. Tell that to the victims of the gang members, the murderers, the rapists that ICE just arrested. Tell that to the residents who've been begging for help for years while crime rates exploded.
Like, this country was literally built on the backs of immigrants every step of the way. And none of us are here, you know, unless you are native to this land. Every single one of us is an immigrant in some way, shape, or form.
And of course, here comes the protesters with the same tired talking points.
This country was built on the backs of immigrants.
Legal immigrants who came through the proper channels, learned English, and assimilated into American culture, not people who crossed illegally and committed violent crimes.
ICE activity has reportedly ramped up in Columbus, Ohio, with Operation Buckeye. City officials, including the mayor, are trying to push back.
I've been clear that City of Columbus resources will not be used to help federal deportation efforts or investigations based solely on immigration status.
But that's not what's happening. ICE isn't just solely going after people based on immigration status. They're going after criminals, gang members, violent felons, people who are threats to public safety. You know what I find hilarious? These same liberals who loved illegal immigrants so much, why don't they just house them themselves? Why don't they just open up their homes? Why is it always that working class Americans in places like Springfield have to deal with the consequences while wealthy Democrats in gated communities lecture us about compassion? Now, let me show you what happens when you create this environment where local government tells illegal immigrants that ICE is the enemy and they should resist. You get violence. You get attacks on federal agents. You get what happened in Maryland on Christmas Eve.
Federal investigators are on the scene of a Glen Burnie neighborhood where police say the target of their operations attempted to run them over.
ICE agents approached a white van in Maryland. They identified two illegal immigrants, one from Portugal, one from El Salvador. Both overstayed their visas. When agents ordered the driver to turn off the car, he refused. Then he started ramming ICE vehicles and drove directly at agents, turned them over.
They opened fire at him, striking him, and that van actually ended up crashing into the woods between some homes here, and it looks like there might be a tow truck to pull that van out at this point.
Both driver and passenger were injured and taken to the hospital. Both are expected to survive, which means they'll face federal charges for assaulting federal officers.
Neighbor James Hicks tells WMAR2 News that he heard the commotion and 3 gunshots.
He gonna try to run a guy over. I understand why the guy shot him, you know, but he shouldn't try nothing like that.
That is common sense, you guys. You try to run over a federal agent.
Yeah, I was shooting
they're
too.
going to defend themselves. But here's what's really disturbing. Attacks on ICE agents have skyrocketed since Trump took office for his second term. We're talking about a 1,300% increase in vehicle attacks on ICE agents. 1,300%. You know why? Because Democrats and their media allies have spent years demonizing ICE, calling them Nazis and fascists, and telling illegal immigrants to resist. Homeland Security put out a statement after the Maryland attack that needs to be read in full because it exposes exactly what's happening here. Our brave officers are risking their lives every day to keep American communities safe by arresting and removing illegal aliens from our streets. Continued efforts to encourage illegal aliens and violent aggregators to actively resist ICE will only lead to one more violent incident. The extreme rhetoric needs to stop. That, my friends, is the Department of Homeland Security officially saying that the Democrat rhetoric is encouraging violence against federal agents, and they're absolutely right.
Protesters around the country are demanding their local and state officials do more to stand up to immigration raids.
That's code for obstructing federal law enforcement. That's code for protecting criminals. That's code for put illegal immigrants ahead of American citizens.
They cannot completely stop ICE through their own action.
Duh, but they can impose some constraints. Translation, make it harder for federal agents to do their job, which puts those agents in more danger and allows more criminals to potentially escape. Here's what these sanctuary city mayors and governors don't want to admit. They're going to lose this particular fight. The Constitution is crystal clear.
The Supremacy Clause of the Constitution will always limit what a state and local official can do because it allows federal law to prevail over conflicting local laws.
States can refuse to help ICE, but they can't actively obstruct federal immigration enforcement. And when they try, they're going to get sued. The Trump DOJ is already suing Illinois for passing laws that restrict cooperation with ICE. They're investigating 18 other states for similar violations, and they're going to win every single case because the Constitution is on their side. America, this is the choice Democrats are making. Protect violent criminals or protect American citizens. Every single time, you guessed it, they choose criminals. The Columbus mayor says the city is already safe while ICE arrests gang members and murderers. Protesters claim ICE is terrorizing communities while ignoring the actual terror caused by criminals that ICE is removing. And Democrat rhetoric encouraging resistance leads directly to illegal immigrants trying to run over federal agents on Christmas Eve. Here's what nobody wants to say out loud. Every attack on an ICE agent, every criminal who escapes because local police won't cooperate, every American victim of crimes committed by somebody who should have been deported, that is blood on the Democrats' hands. They created sanctuary policies. They demonized ICE. They told illegal immigrants to resist. And now they're shocked when violence breaks out. It's not that complicated. When you tell
they're trying to handicap the ICE
federal
agents.
agents
That's what they're trying to
you get
do.
exactly what happened in Maryland. Let me know what you think about this.
They're trying to
Drop it
handicap
down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe. And as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you, Tyson, Doug Cruz. Great upload. You know, these ICE agents need to be protected, and they need to have. We need more ICE agents. More. We need more. Looks like another Matrix movie. We need more agents. Definitely gonna need more. All right, guys. We're running into the last two videos of the night, and they're back-to-back videos, and they're coming from Jason A. So sit back, relax, and watch because it's very important. Here we go.
Chicago officials are sounding the alarm ahead of New Year's Eve. Law enforcement agencies warning this week that large celebrations, including fireworks events, could be an attractive target for terrorists, saying there are no specific threats, but they are monitoring risks such as vehicle ramming attacks or the use of drones. And in New Orleans, city officials are requesting heightened security after the FBI stopped a threat targeting Border Patrol agents. Authorities say the suspect is allegedly affiliated with an extremist group known as Turtle Island Liberation Front, the same group tied to an alleged New Year's Eve bomb plot in Southern California. 4 alleged members of the group have been charged with conspiracy to use a weapon of mass destruction, providing and attempting to provide material support to terrorists, and possession of unregistered firearms. According to court documents, the defendants described plans they intended to implement following the New Year's Eve's bombings, including their plans to target U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE agents, and vehicles with firearms and pipe bombs to take some of them out and scare the rest of them. And overseas, 7 countries are canceling their New Year's Eve plans, citing safety concerns.
This story is enormous, and we await for the sentencing of these 2 men, fanatics inspired by the Bataclan tragedy and Islamic State, face life in jail after they were found guilty of plotting a gun attack on Jewish targets in Manchester, which police say could have been Britain's worst ever terrorist atrocity. And Rupert, we have seen a few of these since 2005. The message has to be clearly understood. We are lucky. We have swerved one here.
I don't know what about you, Johnny, but I think at the end of the day, we've seen more and more of this as we've seen if you like, communities who haven't integrated within our Christian culture. And I think what you've got to remember is that Islam is a much more aggressive religion than many others. And, literally, if you look at what happened to Salman Rushdie and you look at what happens to people who actually speak out about what they truly believe, if it offends the Islamic culture, then ultimately they take quite aggressive steps towards people. And that's not what we're all taught to do as part of our Christian ethic. So it's a bit like mixing oil with water. And I think you only have to look at the history of Lebanon, that was a Christian country, and the warnings are all there, really. And we need to, I think, sit up and take notice before it's too late.
When you put in communist policies, that's what Zohran Mamdani is talking about.
He's not a communist.
It never works.
Socialist. He says he's Democratic
I can't tell what the difference is.
Well, he can describe
Explain what the difference is.
He can describe the differences for you. The socialism is not the same basis of communism in this country. You know that quite well.
The man wants to create government-run grocery stores. He wants free transportation, both of which are impossible to do. Because how is
a trigger word to try to undermine all of his policies. He's not a. He says he doesn't.
I don't need to undermine his policies. His policies undermine himself.
Well,
because they've never worked. Here's all I want him to do. Tell me where they've ever worked. They've never worked. He knows that. I knows that. But what he's trying to do is promise everybody something that they can't have. And the truth is there is no free lunch, just like there's no free bus. Because you know what happens when you have a free bus? There's nobody there to fix it or to drive it. He knows that. I know that. You know that. America does know it. And it's unfortunate that the city of New York, my former home city, is probably going to have to go through this.
I have always spoken out against anti-Semitism.
I don't live far from New York.
In any form.
New York City.
Made it clear that the commitment I have made to protect New Yorkers, to protect Jewish New Yorkers, is one that I will uphold as the next mayor of the city. And we must distinguish between anti-Semitism and criticism of the Israeli government. The ADL's report oftentimes ignores this distinction, and in doing so, it draws attention away from the very real crisis of anti-Semitism we see not only just in our city, but in the country at large. And this is a team we are speaking of more than 400 New Yorkers that we have assembled to advise on the transition.
400
committees, 17 of which that are ranged from worker justice to the importance of the arts. And we will continue to build an administration of appointees that reflect not only our commitments, but also the fulfillment of our employees.
Did any of those examples I read or in the report your team looked at, did any of those go
Does that make any sense?
far to where you said, okay, this is kind of anti-Semitic?
I think there's no tolerance for anti-Semitism. And also, when we're thinking about critiques of Zionism and different forms of political expression, as much of what this report focuses on, there's a wide variety of political opinion, even within our own 400 plus transition committee on the Israeli government and its conduct.
A Christmas Day airstrike that Washington says targeted militants affiliated with Islamic State in Nigeria. Footage shows the fiery aftermath, with local people recovering debris.
Some people thought it was an aircraft that fell down, but unfortunately it wasn't. Glory be to God, there was no loss of life.
After strikes in Syria and Somalia, this is the third U.S. operation claiming to target Islamic State in a week.
President Trump announcing on Christmas the U.S. has struck ISIS targets in Nigeria. The president in a social media post saying, quote, "Tonight at my direction as commander-in-chief, the United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria, who have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians," and adding, "The Department of War executed numerous perfect strikes as only the United States is capable of doing. Under my leadership, our country will not allow radical Islamic terrorism to prosper. May God bless our military, and Merry Christmas to all, including the dead terrorists." The move to strike suspected ISIS targets in Nigeria comes after the State Department designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern last month for its alleged severe violations of religious freedom and persecution of Christians. President Trump posting a video in early November threatening to go into Nigeria, guns a-blazing. U.S. Africa Command took credit for the Christmas strike, which they say came at the request of Nigerian authorities.
They're killing the Christians and killing them in very large numbers. We're not going to allow that to happen.
Trump had been threatening an intervention in Nigeria, accusing its government of failing to protect Christians.
And as we're already seeing, there are many Islamic independent MPs now in Parliament. I get on very well with most of them. They're very clever and they're very decent people. But at the end of the day, one has to remember that they look at life very differently to the more libertarian culture that we've got used to in this country, and indeed many people have died to protect. So I think we're playing with fire, and we've got to be very careful. As you say, we've dodged a bullet on this occasion, but we've seen these little sort of plumes of lava bubbling up increasingly across the world, and I don't think they're going to stop anytime soon. We saw a pretty vile attack on Bondi Beach, which ultimately has its genesis in this sort of Islamic hatred of in that case the Jews. So I think we've got to wake up, and I don't think Britain, it's become very soft, Johnny, and if we don't fight for what we believe in and what we have spent many generations building up, then we're going to lose it, I'm afraid.
And fighting and dying for as well. But this isn't just about the Jewish community, is it, Rupert? Because, as you say, this affects everyone. Every time there is a terror threat or a terror attack, something dies within our society, and you can physically begin to see it in our cities. And I'm not just talking about population change and even population transfer. I'm talking about slums next to posh houses in streets in formerly nice areas. It is beginning to precipitate into a malaise in the country, which is literally bricks and mortar.
I think the two interesting questions, I think, which you raised. One is, I've often wondered why it is we don't hear more from the Me Too movement on the way in which Islam approaches, women, which is, in my view, incompatible with a lot of the Me Too movement and what they've been espousing for some time. And the second thing I find extraordinary is that the Muslim elders who have, to some extent, integrated, don't speak up to a far greater extent about this Islamic extremism, which ultimately is the cause of the problem. But I somehow think they're Islamic first, and in the end, they're also worried about upsetting extreme Islam, and therefore they don't speak out. And really, if they had a conscience and if they were being responsible, they would speak out and they would encourage their communities to stop harboring these people, to stop fostering this hatred and this violence, and hopefully to propagate some form of peaceful coexistence, which is ultimately something which we're all taught in multicultural Britain is the nirvana of the modern multicultural society. So I think there's a lot of questions that don't add up here.
Yes.
And we should be asking them, frankly.
That's wild. Now let's go to straight back to back on Jason A.
For the first time in history, foreign policy has become global. Communications are instantaneous, and there exist problems which are genuinely not national, like environment, nuclear proliferation, and similar issues. So in this sense, we are living in a new world, and a new world order will emerge. The only question is whether it will arise out of intellectual and moral insight and by design, or whether it will be forced on mankind by a series of catastrophes. That's the challenge of our period. It's in which anybody can live.
The digital identity is not just a passport that you will have on your iPhone in a digital form. It entails just about everything the government would like to know about you. The best way to get to a modern person's heart is to say that it's convenient for them. So yes, you won't have to carry all your different papers and your passports, but the downside of it is, and I hope that people will start to see this, that the government can shut you down. So you know, if you want to buy a burger, red screen, no mark, not for you. That flight, not for you. Oh, but you can just buy it if you have enough money, right? So they're being very open and honest to what their goal is here. So we should take their words seriously and say, hell no. I would say we should cancel these communists immediately and say, get the hell out of my private life. I'm not having you track me and decide what I eat and where I go.
That is why I believe we must push forward the principle of pseudonymity as the functioning element of social media and force all these platforms to link every user account to an European digital identity wallet. This way, citizens could use nicknames if they want, but in the case of a crime, public authorities will be able to connect those nicknames to real people and hold them responsible. Because accountability is not an obstacle to freedom of speech. It is an essential complement to it.
And finally, it takes resilience. As technology evolves, we need to build up societal immunity around information manipulation. Because research has shown that pre-bunking is much more successful than debunking. Pre-bunking is basically the opposite of debunking. In short, prevention is preferable to cure. Perhaps if you think of information manipulation as a virus, instead of treating an infection once it has taken hold, that is debunking. It is much better to vaccinate so that the body is inoculated. Pre-bunking is the same approach. Because disinformation relies on people passing it on to others. It is essential that people know what malign information's influence is and what the techniques are that are behind it. And as the knowledge goes up, our chances of being influenced goes down. And that builds up the society resilience that we will need.
And yet, we are allowing people to roam freely on social networks without linking their profiles to a real identity. This paving the way for misinformation, hate speech, and cyber harassment, because it is facilitating the use of bots, and it is allowing people to act without being held accountable for their actions. Such an anomaly cannot continue. In a democracy, citizens have the right to privacy, not to anonymity or impunity, because with those two, social coexistence would be impossible.
This is an extraordinary story. So he was born in a place called the Judengasse, which was a Jewish ghetto, basically. And it was the house that he lived in when he eventually had 13 children was only 14 feet wide. And he lived there with his very, very overpowering and dominant and an incredibly brilliant wife who was called Guttel. He was determined to get out of this ghetto. At nighttime, the ghetto was closed. You weren't allowed to leave. The street was so narrow that no sunlight could penetrate. There was no plumbing. There was no sewage. There was nothing. So everything you can imagine happened in this street. And unsurprisingly, he wanted to get out of there. And he started a small coin business, and that did reasonably well. But actually, and this is where it ties into legacy, his great strength was to send his 5 sons to the capitals of Europe at that time. And what they did is they set up, in effect, the first international banking system. So whereas everyone used to be in separate different countries or separate cities until then, these 5 boys communicated with each other, sometimes by pigeon, and they wrote to each other in Judendeutsche, which was a kind of Yiddish, German vernacular. And that is why they were so successful. And this absolute belief in togetherness, you've got to stand together, you've got to work together, you've got to work across borders, you've got to work with rules. And by 1789, when the last one went to 1815, so a very, very short period of time, it was said that no government or king would consider going to war without the Rothschilds supporting them, because that was how incredibly influential and powerful they had become.
The negative impact of population growth on all of our planetary ecosystems is becoming appallingly evident. The rapid growing exploitation of the world's supply of energy and water is a matter of deep concern, and the toxic byproducts of widespread industrialization have increased atmospheric pollution to dangerous levels. Unless nations will agree to work together to tackle these cross-border challenges posed by population growth, overconsumption of resources, and environmental degradation, the prospects for a decent life on our planet will be threatened. The recent UN meeting in Cairo is appropriately focused on one of these key issues, population growth. But the controversies which have erupted at the conference illustrate the problem of coming to grips with issues that are deeply divisive and which have a profound moral dimension. The United Nations can and should play an essential role in helping the world find a satisfactory way of stabilizing world population and stimulating economic development in a manner that is sensitive to religious and moral considerations. Economic growth is, of course, an inevitable corollary of a growing population and is essential to improve standards of living. But without careful coordination, unrestrained economic growth poses further threats to our environment. This was a major subject of discussion at the conference in Rio de Janeiro on the environment 2 years ago. The focus then was on sustainable growth and global development. It was pointed out at the conference that growth is most efficiently managed by the private sector, but regulation of the process by national governments and international bodies is also needed. And once again, the United Nations should certainly be among the catalysts and coordinators of this process.
Wow. It makes you think. Crazy times are coming. 2026 will be here in a few days. Literally, in a few days, we'll be going to the next calendar year and see a lot of things happening. So we got to pay attention, stay aware, subscribe to the channel, like the channel, watch my shorts. It's pretty cool. I put a lot of stuff up from time to time, but the Pokemon stuff, I'm definitely going to put once a day. I'm going to open up a pack, and if I get something, if I don't, that's what it's about, the chase. So with that said, I want to wish everybody a good morning, good afternoon, and a good night. And I'll catch everybody on the flip side. And I'll be back on here tomorrow, regular time. And we'll see how everything went with the ice storm and see what else news that comes our way for us to review. All right, guys. Have a good one. Good night.